Hello, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC News Break. A police officer who allegedly tried to collect money from a man to discontinue 2 traffic cases was held last evening following an undercover operation. 28-year-old Rainier Jemad of Green Hill, St. Michael, will now appear at the District A Magistrates Court after being charged with the offence of abuse of public office. The constable was held in Queen's Park. He had previously reported the man for the traffic offences. Member of Parliament for St. Philip North, Michael Lashley, wants murder to be removed from the list of offences that are bailable. Speaking in his capacity as an attorney at law, Mr. Lashley says it's time for the Bail Act to be amended. His comments follow recent public concern about the number of people charged with murder who are granted bail and in some instances commit the act again.
I've heard on radio stations, how can a person who's been charged with murder get bail? But the truth is that there's in Barbados we have a piece of law called the Bail Act. And I believe it's Section 4, Section 3 of that Bail Act, which gives an accused person to apply to the High Court for bail. And I certainly believe that when we look at legislative reform, I'm not the Attorney General, but of course, being a trained attorney at law, we utilized that section before it was a common law right for that person to apply for bail if that person is charged for the capital offense of murder. But today, you can apply under the Bail Act.
Mr. Lashley was speaking during the launch of the Community Neighbourhood Watch of the Grassfield Duncans community over the weekend. Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police Euclid Thompson is concerned about how some parents are raising their children. Mr. Thompson says there seems to be a steady decline in respect between parents and children, and he says the roles seem to be reversed, with parents now taking the instructions.
Little or no attention is being paid to how our children speak, what they wear, what they watch, and with whom they socialize and interact, befriend or even date. Politeness, good manners, and other social graces are no longer embraced by our children, as we, the adults, have forgotten that these things, these attributes were at the core of our upbringing and development.
Barbados wants the social and economic vulnerabilities of middle-income countries like itself taken into consideration and not overlooked when it comes to assistance. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Maxine McLean, made it clear the criteria cannot be about GDP per capita alone. She made the point during the 69th session of the UN General Assembly. Minister McLean told the world body of the challenges Barbados is facing, brought on by the economic crisis.
We continue to suffer the devastating impacts of the global economic and financial crisis and have limited scope, capacity, fiscal flexibility or policy space to respond effectively to them. We face declining export demand, decreased investment, and a contraction in services upon which our economy is dependent, such as tourism. Fiscal and financial stresses have forced us to make significant adjustments to our expenditure programs. Against this backdrop, we face the daunting challenge of continuing to provide adequate social safety nets for the most vulnerable of our citizens in a responsible and sustainable manner.
Senator McLean says strides made by Barbados towards a green economy can be eroded if the international community does not act on climate change.
The most recent findings of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change underscore, yet again, the vulnerability of SIDS, particularly to the effects of climate change, sea level rise, ocean acidification, and extreme weather events. These together represent an existential threat to SIDS. We therefore urge major carbon emitters to take all necessary actions. Barbados welcomes the Secretary General's Climate Summit held here at the United Nations on September 23rd. We hope the momentum from the summit will inject urgency into the proceedings of the upcoming COP20 in Lima this December.
With the holidays fast approaching, Barbadians need not worry, as there is expected to be an abundance of poultry products for the Christmas season. In fact, Chairman of the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, Sean Tudor, believes the local poultry industry can meet the required expectations.
I can't speak on behalf of the poultry industry per se, but I expect that we will have adequate supplies of local poultry as usual. We BADMC do not import whole turkeys for Christmas. We don't do that, and we don't intend to issue licenses for that or anything like that, or to assist with that. So the poultry industry, as they have been planning and preparing, and they would have geared themselves up to supply the market at Christmas, and I think it will go well for the poultry industry.
As the sole importer of poultry products, Mr. Tudor says the BADMC has not changed its policy regarding the importation of poultry products.
The quota is 140,000 kilograms per month, and that comes at 1.6 million kilograms a year. We mainly import turkey wings and some turkey necks, and we pass that on. We get approximately 5.5 million or thereabout in revenue from the sale of the poultry, and we haven't changed anything. Nothing has changed over that.
Fire officers are managing to keep their health in check and are making health-conscious decisions. This was evident as the Barbados Fire Service held its annual health extravaganza at its Probin Street Bridgetown headquarters. Coordinator Carlos Husbands says more officers are participating in the event.
So there's a lot more physical activity and a lot more emphasis is placed on healthcare of officers rather than I won't say that it hasn't been done over the years. When officers are taking more interest even in walking after work, physical activity.
Well, fire officers had prostate, breast screening and blood pressure checks, and they welcomed the extravaganza.
Last year, after participating in the health extravaganza we had was a little bit high. So what it made me do was to just start taking stock of my health. I started exercising, watching what I eat and how I eat it. I cut out the fried foods and stuff like that.
I just recently turned 39. I just, in terms of it really brought home to me in terms of the whole prostate thing. So that's why my main focus was to actually get my prostate checked and get the blood and the actual manual test done. So next week now, after do the rapid test here now, next week I'm going to the actual family planning and get the actual manual test and the other blood test done again. Yeah. All because of the healthcare extravaganza.
Me personally, when it comes to these health extravaganzas, I always look forward probably to getting a massage, getting feet done, getting my hands done, a manicure, things that we would not really get to do on every day, every month basis. So what we normally try to do is once it's here, just take full advantage of it.
Poets and lovers of poetry were exposed to the work of New York Poet Laureate Tina Chang. She did some readings at the U.S. Embassy as part of a 3-evening public events series in Antigua, Barbados, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ms. Chang has published extensively and has received many awards from the Academy of American Poets and the New York Foundation for the Arts, among others. She told the audience that she always knew she would be a writer.
When I was growing up, I knew I always had some sort of inkling that I would be a writer, but I spent my entire life kind of denying it because I didn't really have any role models for myself, and I didn't really know what that meant. What do poets eat? Did they go shopping at the mall? What do they do? How do they act in the world? How do they behave? I didn't have those role models for myself, so I thought it would be a really good idea to just illuminate my path in the process of writing my poems, and I'm hoping that by sharing a part of my life, that will also clarify a lot of my poems, where I got the ideas from, what was my process in writing them.
It's time for a break now, but when we